And this is the great thing about writing, that yes, there are people who have written books about writing that say you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and it needs to be in this format. But do you know, like, I have read books with chapters, it wasn't even that long ago, it was a couple weeks ago. One whole chapter, I turned the page, it was one sentence long, and then you turn the page and you're into the next scene. Like, it was somebody's
I
thoughts, they just had an immediate thought. It's unique. It's that
see
author just
that's
got me. Does that bother
right.
you? Did that bother you? Like one sentence on one page? Like, I was shocked by
But
it, but it made me want to turn the page and be like, what's next?
when you say that, you just actually substantiated my viewpoint, right? That
Sure. You
but
can
so
write a
okay,
chapter as long as you get all of the idea into the pages that you use. Like Count of Monte Cristo, it's got 15-page chapters. That sounds like a lot, but I'm telling you, that story's going to pull you in, and those 15 pages are going to go fast. I've read some 4-page chapters that I'm like, will this please ever end? Too long.
NL Publishing Service Academy proudly presents Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast with literary success consultant DK Walker, sharing with you writing tips, marketing ideas, publishing information, and inspiring interviews for your author journey. So, without further ado, let's get right into it with DK Walker.
hi, I'm DK Walker, and this is Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast. And today I am not by myself. I am not by my lonesome. I have a special guest in the building, Jennifer Carr. Please introduce yourself.
Hey, my name is Jennifer Carr, and I am a newly published author, and I am so excited to be here just to be able to hash out differing opinions on the writing process.
To say the least. So, with that being said, before we get into the reason why you're here, let's take a short trip down memory lane. How many books do you have underneath your belt? How many works in progress that you have going on?
Okay, so I just published my first novel in October of 2022, and I have 3 different works in progress, one being a follow-up to that one, and then 2 separate works in progress, and maybe a third of a different genre, but that one's still percolating.
Got you. How early did the writing bug bite you?
I have been writing for that is one thing that I always had notebooks and I was always writing something, whether it was made up song lyrics or poems that made no sense. I was always a writer. And then I found my rhythm in, I was probably in 5th grade and I started entering contests. And then I became a speech writer and won speech writing contests. And so it just has always been part of me. I never considered writing a book, which is funny. Like, I've always had an imagination. I've always loved getting lost in it. I've always loved writing, but I have never considered writing a book until 2021. I guess it was October 2021. And I woke up from a dream one night and I was like, I need to know how this ends. And I told my husband the next day after I had already written like a whole chapter, I was like, I'm going to write a book. And he was like, good for you. And it just kind of happened. I don't know. And here we are a
Okay.
year later and it happened.
You definitely have to be commended for that because a lot of people get the idea, but they fail or fall short on the execution. So,
Yes.
what was it about the book idea that pushed you towards finishing your book?
I think honestly, I connected with my characters, which is crazy because you read a book and you connect with characters and you think, okay, that's because I'm invested in their story. And I started writing these characters and I thought it's going to be sterile. It's going to be, I'm not attached to them. But oh my goodness, I became attached to my characters. There was one point something happened and I cried for my characters that I wrote. And so I just became invested in it and I couldn't let it go.
I think that all authors share that trait. I think, the best writing, you have to have it has to be personal. It has to come from a
Yes.
personal space. No matter how many layers of fiction that you pile on top, it
Yes.
has to resonate with you first before you can even expect it to resonate with the reader.
Exactly.
How much of you do you see yourself in your characters?
Okay, it's really funny because you were only the second person to ever ask this. My dad was the first, and it's because my main character in the book, she has some tendencies to like psychological. She can do psychology and she does some people reading and she's very intuitive and that kind of thing. And that's like me. But honestly, I specifically tried to separate myself out because I didn't want people to think that I was writing about me because, oh my goodness, how I'm not going to just cut myself open and bleed in front of people. And I did, most authors do, they pull from personal knowledge and personal experience and that kind of thing. The male main character in my book, he is a cybersecurity specialist for the Army. My husband just so happens to be a cybersecurity specialist for the power company, but they are not anything like each other at all. But that was like where it ended. But I was also asked, oh, did you base him on your husband? I'm like, well, I hope not. Just based on things that happened in the book. I was like, no.
Learn how to write faster, conquer writer's block, and tell a story your readers will love. In less than 1 month, writing only 3 pages daily, you can go from book idea to manuscript using the unfair writing advantage. Most authors take 8 months on average to write just 1 book. But in a fraction of that time, you will learn how to craft a book your readers will love and not be hunched over your laptop days on end to do so. Just go to www.theunfairwritingadvantage.com to see what has the self-publishing industry buzzing. Now back to the podcast.
And that's the beauty of writing. Everything to me, everything is story. And you get to pull from so many
Yes.
aspects of past, present, what you hope the future to be,
Yep.
your current surroundings, family, friends, foes, co-workers. It's like a bottomless pit of things that you can pull from to actually
Yes.
bring your story to life. And that's one thing that I definitely love about writing. How therapeutic is your writing for you?
It depends on the storyline I'm working on. Like right now, I have been suffering from a massive case of writer's block on this second book, like the follow up. And
Hmm.
I want to push through and rush through it because I want to move on to another work in progress that I'm like, I have been dying to finish this story because I love these characters that I've created, but I refuse to go that direction because I want to finish this out. I don't want to just leave people hanging. I don't want to leave myself hanging. I need to know how it ends. And that's kind of where I am right now as far as just trying to take the next step. So I don't know.
So earlier you mentioned about having a case of writer's block. I'm gonna make a statement. I want you to either
Yeah.
agree or disagree. At the end of the book that you're currently having a bout of writer's block with, if you were guaranteed $1 million, would you be able to finish that book in a night?
There's a in a night, maybe not.
Okay,
Because
let's hedge the bet. Let's make it 7 days.
yeah,
Now,
I
right now, you
probably could. Yeah, I probably could
so
in 7 days. Yeah.
with that being said, do you really believe that there's writer's block? Because we put a monetary gift at the end of the completion of the book, and then writer's block went away.
And I
So,
think a lot of that has to do with some like self-censoring because when I write and I know that every expert out there or self-proclaimed expert even is going to say don't self-edit when you write. I can't help it. Like when that's how I work. That's how I function. And yeah, it may take me longer to write, but the quality in the end, like my editor doesn't have to do quite as much work, right? She doesn't have to work as hard
mm,
on that side of things. And so I save some money on that end. So I'm editing as I'm going. And so where I'm stuck on this story, I think is more of what direction do I want to take it in so that everybody's happy with how it ends. And I know not everybody's going to be happy with how it ends, but the majority of the readers how it ends. I want them to feel like they've come to a completion, that everybody has found their happy place. And so I think that I'm a harder editor on myself than my actual editor is sometimes.
and a lot of authors suffer from that. I got my hand up,
Mm.
right? And it's crazy. Before this is my first podcast that's actually video, so people can see when I got my hand up.
Oh,
Like you said, I
okay.
got my hand up. You can't see me add quotation marks, but I do that as well, right? I'll go and I'll self edit, and it'll take me longer because if it doesn't
Yes.
sound right, it has to be a particular way that it's coming off to make me happy. Do you think it's a huge hang up for you to strive to please the majority of your readers? Now, the reason that I say that, like everybody's not going to like the finished product,
Right.
right? And sometimes it may be in the author's best interest not necessarily please everybody, but pleased with the quality of work, but not
Hmm.
pleased with the outcome. I watched this movie a long time ago called Arlington Road, right? I believe it was one
Okay.
of the Bridges guys that was in it. The greatest ending ever, bar none, right? I don't know if you ever seen the movie. The bad guys
Mm-mm.
win. And that's why
Oh,
I thought it was the greatest because we're trained for the hero's
yeah.
journey, right?
Yeah.
almost every book is the hero's journey, right? But at the end of this movie, it was like he's racing and they blew up the FBI building. Like, what the feeling explicit? And I'm like, nobody's seen that coming. And I'm
Yeah.
like, because he was going there to defuse the bomb, whatever. And by the time he got to the FBI building, it was ashes, smoke,
Oh my
fire,
gosh.
screams, and you're looking
Yeah.
like, I can't believe that they did it. And then they arrested him, and the movie went off. And I was watching it with family and friends, and they wasn't happy, and I was joyed, and I knew at that point, like, okay, I'm a strange fruit. So I say all of that to say, sometimes it's best to give the readers unexpected. That way,
Absolutely. Yes.
to say the least. What is the name? Because I don't think you mentioned the name of your book that's finished and that can be bought, and where can it be purchased at?
It is called No Matter What, and it is on Amazon, and it's also available on my website, jcarwrites.com.
Okay, you want to tell us a little bit about that?
About the book, sure. So I mentioned briefly that my main character, she has some special abilities with psychology and that kind of thing. So she can read people's expressions, their facial expressions, their body language. She can read that, and she can peg a person like when they're lying and that kind of thing, which comes in handy when you're trying to get to know somebody, but it also comes in handy when, I don't know, maybe you start working for the FBI, that kind of thing, as she eventually does. And then she meets the male main character. His name is Brian. And I mentioned that he's a cybersecurity analyst for the Army. And so their paths cross in an unexpected way, and they're just immediately drawn to each other. But then they're taken on a road trip. They have to take a road trip that's like a rescue mission of sorts. And they find that there's more to their being around each other than just rescuing a friend kind of thing. So there's a love
Okay.
story involved, and which I'm a sucker for a good romance. And so I put it out there. It's what it is. So I love a good romance. And so that's what happens. They find their way down just the journey of life together, and they experience love, they experience loss together. But then Brian, in his official capacity at work, he stumbles upon some like nefarious things going on behind the scenes. Our nation is at risk. It's a global risk, and he has to take some action that's pretty risky. And through the process, a box of evidence ends up being delivered on Jess, the main character, her doorstep. And that box of evidence leads down a path of, it puts her whole world in jeopardy. Like everything that she thought she knew just unravels, and she has to figure out who she can trust. And in the end, there's love, there's loss, there's redemption, restoration, that kind of thing. So I will say that I'm a sucker for a happily ever after too. And so there is one of those, though there are some tears.
But that's the beauty of it, right? Because it's to some, it may sound like it's a formula, but it's a formula that's tried and true. Like it's a formula
Yeah,
without fail. Like it's the hero's
exactly.
journey. It's with
Oh
it,
yeah.
you can't go wrong with that. Early in the conversation, you said that not only that your book is available on Amazon, it's also available on your website. Why did you choose to go wide?
Writing your manuscript has been hard enough, so let NL Publishing Service Academy make self-publishing your book easy as possible. From beautifully designed full and ebook covers to uniquely done typesetting and formatting, our goal is to professionally enhance your manuscripts and book covers to give your readers the best reading experience possible. Need marketing tips, tactics, and strategies? We can help you with that. How about branding and broadening the reach of your author platform? Yep, we can help you with that too. So no matter what your self-publishing needs are, NL Publishing Service Academy has you covered. Just head over to www.nlpublishingservices.com for whatever your self-publishing needs are. And now back to the podcast.
Okay, so it was, self-publishing is a world that I never really understood. One, how much freedom there is in self-publishing.
Mm,
I just,
yeah.
you know what I'm talking about. And so there is this, you don't really know when you write a book. Like I had no idea that traditional publishing was just one option. And so I just assumed that as soon as I finished and hit the end and published it, that it was going to be available for anybody that wanted to read it. And I was like, I was so naive and had no idea what was going on. And so I sought out another independent author and was like, I need some advice. What do you suggest? And he was like, I use Amazon, but I also a book distributor, because then, yeah, Amazon is what everybody uses for like their ebooks. And some people like to buy their paperbacks and hardbacks from Amazon. But if you want it in the stores, if you want it in the libraries, it needs to be findable, searchable by those companies. In my book, you can find it on Walmart's website and Target's website and Barnes and Noble and Books a Million, all of these other websites, and not just my website. It allows more people to find my book. Amazon is nice. I do like it, but I use Amazon for ebooks. And so I don't buy physical books. I'm an ebook-aholic, and I wanted to go that route for people like me. But then I also have friends and family who prefer books in hand, and it's cheaper honestly, to have it printed and distributed through a book distributor.
Okay, agree or disagree? Amazon is the new gatekeeper. Gatekeeper.
Yes, I will agree with that 100%. But I honestly, Amazon was selfish in a way because, like I said, I love ebooks and Kindle Unlimited is like my go to for everything. And I wanted my books
Hmm.
available for people like me. So it's a catch 22 if you think about it because Amazon it's global and people can get to it very easily. So I don't know. I don't know. That was just why I chose to do it that way.
Right. So the thing is, readers, which is actually customers, right? They
Yes.
customers are, lack of better words, animals of habitat. They
Hmm.
buy from people they know, like, trust. Amazon gives the readers that know, like, trust quality. So if you put your book there, it's guaranteed that it's going to get to the reader.
Sure.
I think the hardest thing with self-publishing authors when they sell their books on the website is they've yet to establish a know, like, trust with their readers. And the more that they know and trust you, they'll more readily buy from you directly. That it
Sure.
benefits, and once they understand that it benefits us more, right? Like, you get a bigger slice of your own pie when you're buying directly from me instead of Amazon eating away at
Yes.
my royalties. But that's a slippery slope. My thing is,
Hmm.
yeah, you should have a presence on Amazon, but okay, here's a quick hack. You should have a presence on Amazon, right? You should direct people to your website. If they go to Amazon to buy your book, make sure that you raise the prices of your book on Amazon. So effectively, you've given yourself a raise. And then, so what you do, you run an ad or you run whatever and tell people, and you do a price comparison. You can buy the same exact book for this amount on Amazon, which is you've raised the price, and you
Hmm.
can buy it from me like at a considerably lower price. Either way, so win-win for the author. I think authors
Yes.
need to realize and understand your business, and you control the product, meaning you
Yes.
control the pricing and you control how readers, which is consumers, consume that product.
Absolutely. And I think, what again, Amazon to me it's literally for like the quick and easy ebook and Kindle Unlimited. Like that is literally the only you can get my paperback from Amazon. But when you order from my website, when you order directly from me, you're going to get a cute little bookmark and you're going to get a cute little sticker and you're going to get my name on the book. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to send it to you. It's going to be pretty in the envelope that you get it in kind of thing. Amazon doesn't care. They don't care. And yeah, I agree. Like the only reason that Amazon was on my list was for the ebook distribution.
Hopefully, more authors, self-publishing authors, will understand that. Now, if you're making a killing on Amazon, please, what I'm
Good
saying
for
has
you.
nothing to right. But if you're not,
Hmm.
if you're getting little to nothing, please go wide. With that being said, are you ready to let the people in on how we met, how we came?
Absolutely. Yes, me
Okay,
me being
cool.
a disagreeable person. Like, we
No,
disagree.
before we get into it, I was at work, and because, like, I'm so new to, like, when I say I'm new to TikTok, I'm like a month old baby on TikTok, right? I know nothing. And so when I seen the Stitch is called come
Mhm.
through, I thought it was just me looking at my own stuff. And then when you popped on and then you said what you said, I'm not gonna lie to you, I felt a certain type of way. I'm like, the audacity, really? You gonna come for me? Okay, cool. And then me thinking forward, I'm like, instead of having a back and forth like most people do when they
Yeah.
disagree on TikTok, this will be great content for my podcast. So I
Yes.
reached out to you, and you were so sweet, so kind, so understanding, and you readily agreed. And here we are,
Here
right?
we are. Yes.
And I think the crazy part is the more that we conversed, we found out we really don't disagree that much.
That's right.
But let's get into it. If you don't mind, if you have what I sent you earlier, if you could
Yeah. Yeah.
read that for the listeners, and then we can take it from there.
Okay. So I respectfully disagree. Just keep your chapters full scenes, keep your chapters complete, keep your chapters interesting, however many pages it takes. That's just my opinion. And I don't want to sit down with a book and read it and find like it's rushed. Like I don't want a rushed 4-page chapter. I don't want to sit
Mm.
down and skip over to the next chapter to find that they could have continued that scene into the next chapter and that they broke up a chapter that didn't need breaking up. And I'm pretty sure I ended it with, you do you, boo.
Oh, and when you said that, I promise you, all you graded me. I'm like, she knows me personally. She called me Boo.
Hi,
Um,
boo.
she knows me personally. She gave me a
I'm
nickname.
that's right.
Um, I'm like, if you to see my expression when I first seen that, I'm like, but here we are. So before I have my rebuttal, if you want to expound upon that, please do.
And this is the great thing about writing. That, yes, there are people who have written books about writing that say you need to be able to do X, Y, and Z, and it needs to be in this format. But do you know, like, I have read books with chapters, it wasn't even that long ago, it was a couple weeks ago. One whole chapter, I turned the page, it was one sentence long, and then you turn the page and you're into the next scene. Like, it was somebody's thoughts, they just had an immediate thought. It's unique. It's that
See,
author just got me. Does that bother
right.
you? Did that bother you? Like one sentence on one page? Like, I was shocked by
But
it, but it made me want to turn the page and be like, what's next?
when you say that, you just actually substantiated my viewpoint, right? Yeah,
Sure, you
but
can
so
write a
okay.
chapter as long as you get all of the idea into the pages that you use. Like Count of Monte Cristo, it's got 15-page chapters. That sounds like a lot, but I'm telling you, that story's going to pull you in, and those 15 pages are going to go fast. I've read some 4-page chapters that I'm like, will this please ever end? Too long.
So
So,
my I guess my question to you is: are you a fan of James Patterson?
do you know, I think I've only, and when I say I've read, I think I listened to one of his books on vacation one time. Like we were on a road trip and I listened to one of his books. So I don't know how many pages his chapters would come out to.
So this isn't, and I agree with you. There is no actually formula to how long a chapter should be. The thing is to move the story along, make the chapter interesting, and to keep the characters progressing. That's
Yeah.
bottom line and flat out. I think what happens with most authors is they write past the chapter's object, and so in doing so, that's when you get a lot of fluff, a lot of filter, and all of that because
Yes.
they don't know where to end the chapter. I think everything is story, like I alluded to earlier in the podcast, and means though everything is story, you can learn to tell the best stories by things that has nothing to do with books. So I'm gonna read a couple of things to illustrate my point. So bear with me, please. I even took doggone notes on my cards, and I was really serious about this.
Good.
And
I have my Word document up here that I'm following. So,
I see. We both came. Yeah, we both came. So, music wise, there's a song by the Notorious B.I.G. Listen up,
BIG.
I got a story to tell. It's actually 4 minutes and 42 seconds, and it's named. I named my podcast after his song.
Okay.
Great song, by the way. He's telling about how he was sleeping with an NBA player that played with the New York Knicks girlfriend. True story, come to find out. There's a rapper. I don't know if you know what Big looks
Hmm.
like. He'll tell you
Hmm.
himself he's not the most handsome guy, but his style is so fresh that he was able to sleep with the NBA's girlfriend. The NBA player came home while he was in the apartment and he robbed the NBA player. He was able to tell this great story in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. I apologize if I'm gonna be long-winded. Stay with me. J.
You're
Cole
fine.
wrote a song called For Your Eyes Only. It was only 3 minutes and 44 seconds. Great song. If you happen to be a fan of TV shows back in the day, Facts of Life, Family Ties, The Cosby Show, Martin, Sanford and Son, MASH, they was on for 30 minutes, but if you take out the commercials, it was only 22 minutes.
Hmm.
Where I'm going to with all this, since a kid, I knew that story is everything. Like, I love to read, I love to
Hmm.
write, but I knew that story was everything. And so when I started to write, I understood that there's a science. Like most authors, they live and die by the art of writing. There's a science to writing. And what I
Hmm.
mean by science, like my job as not a writer, but an author is I need the readers to turn and complete the chapters, turn the
Hmm.
pages, turn the I just need to, and I agree 1,000% what you said. Each chapter, no matter how long and or short, has to be interesting, has to be thought provoking, has to move the story forward, and it has
Hmm.
to be complete. I believe that if you give a new author that's not seasoned too many pages, they will overthink, overwrite, and that's why their editing process is so long because it's
Hmm.
too much there. So, with that being said, I've written a book called The Unfair Writing Advantage, and it's not for authors that's well deep into the game. It's for first time and or struggling authors that can't seem to get it all together. It's not in stone that you have to do 4 pages per chapter, but less is more. And what I
Sure.
mean by that is if I give you like your mother and you have kids, right?
Hmm. Yeah,
Oh, I have 2 kids, and
I have one.
if I tell my youngest daughter, "You got all day to clean up," guess what? She's gonna take all day to clean up. But if I say, "Mama, if you don't get your da 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 da, and you got 15 minutes to get this, in 13 minutes the room is clean." spotless. So with that time frame, you're able to get more, in that shorter time frame, probably you're able to get more accomplished. Now,
Sure.
but you have to, I think, for any authors that's listening to me and Jennifer, you have to find your own medium. You have to find what
Yes.
works for you. But I think we both can agree: do not write past your chapter's objective. Like whatever you wanted to accomplish in that chapter, bring it to a close, and that's when you start your new chapter.
Absolutely. And I think we have to remember that while writing is an art form and that art is left open to interpretation, there is
Hmm.
also there are boundaries that you have to stay in. Otherwise, it starts not making so much sense. Like how Picasso got about with his art form is beyond me. Like his art to me, I look at it and I'm like, I don't know what to interpret here. That he left the boundaries, and for some people, it's beautiful and wonderful. And I guess that's the other flip side to it is that even if your chapters go into the 15 pages, like in The Count of Monte Cristo, or like in Anne Rand was like she was notorious for these really long-winded chapters, and she was very verbose with her words and just her sentence structure and that kind of thing. And yet somehow they're classics, and they can get away with it because their art had a point. Their art made
Mm,
sense. It stayed within the boundaries and it kept the reader in. It kept the reader emotionally attached. It's when you lose
right.
that emotional attachment, when it's broken, they're not going to finish the
They're
book.
not going to finish the book. You wasted their time, and you've lost a repeat customer, right? Because
Yes,
you make your money
exactly.
on the back end. Like your back end books, your back catalog is like if they read your book, your first book, and they love it, like, they automatically have to. How many more books does this author have underneath their belt? And they'll go
Right,
search for those. Most authors don't get that. You have to do your best that you possibly can. And of course, you get better as you go on,
right.
but you need to understand the nuances of writing. Or better yet, pardon me, you need to understand the nuances of storytelling. Once you
Yes,
understand that, you'll have readers literally eating out of your hand. My
yes.
first book was called The Ugly Side of Sex. I had uber short chapters in there. And the reason being was because that book was about me, right? I suffered from porn addiction, sex addiction, but I written it from a fictional aspect, right? It
Yeah,
was at least I want to say 90% true, give or take, depends on how I'm feeling during the week. But long story short, I understood that I need to get my story out in quick bite-sized chunks for it to be
yeah.
easily digestible by the reader, right? I didn't want to overwhelm them with constant
Mhm.
erotica. I wanted to
Yeah,
put story in there somewhere. I didn't want the genre to be my crutch. So,
exactly.
like I said,
Exactly.
authors have to find their own medium. They have to find what works for them. But whatever you do, do not write past your doggone chapter objective. If you do, you're gonna lose readers.
Oh, absolutely. And I think it's important for authors to keep in mind that and chances are, and this is what also happened for me when I started writing, was it was a book that I would want to read. So I wrote it in a way that I would want to read it. And so I know that it's written for readers like me. So know your audience, right? You have to know who you're writing for. And that can
Facts.
be, I'm not saying that you have to be like, I am writing for all of the Lindas of the world who are 34 years old and da, da, da. Listen, so before I did the self-publishing thing,
But
I tried to send out a query or two or 19 to different publishers and to agents, which never again, will not be doing that. But they're like, who's your target audience? And I'm like, me. I'm my target audience. I'm people who like to read books like me, but I don't know how to describe that. Yeah, I'm a 39-year-old
oh,
mom
okay.
who works whatever. So,
So, with that being said, let me ask you a question. Do you know who your target market?
and okay, so I did and I didn't because, like I said, I wrote it as a book that it was something that I would want to read. I think one of the best things, your first book is always going to be an experiment, right? Because you have no idea how it's going to be received by anybody.
That
And so when I sent it out to several friends. And of course, when I say friends, they're all going to be almost 40 or 40 somethings women who are wives and moms because these are the people that I hang out with and do life with. My husband read it, my dad read it. So I had a couple of men read it, but not a lot. And so I wasn't really sure when I sent it out who was going to respond most strongly. It's really funny because I've had more responses from women in their 50s and 60s, which I did not think I was writing to. Honestly, I was like, oh, they're going to be scandalized by kisses. I don't know. And so I got more feedback from the older readers of my book. And maybe it's just because they're used to giving feedback. I don't know. But so yeah, I have a better idea now that it's been out for a few months and I can look back and see, okay, I've gotten really good reviews from people in my cohort, but also I need to start looking at marketing toward this age group as well. And that's a whole different ballgame. Marketing, we can do a whole podcast on marketing and selling
Facts
yourself.
and true data, like the reviews is that's the data. Once you get the
Hmm.
reviews back, now you know exactly who you should be writing to and for.
Hmm.
Where do you see yourself at writing wise within the next 3 years? I know you said you had two works in progress. Where do you see yourself writing wise at? Do you see yourself possibly having a career at this? Um,
So I have been immensely blessed to be able to work at home regardless of what job I have. I've been a wedding planner. I have been a teacher, like I taught AP high school psychology. I have been marriage and family counselor, and I can do all of this stuff virtually at home. And so that has provided me the opportunity to work on writing and authoring, if you will. I don't know if it's something that I could make a career of. I love doing it though. It's a passion. And so it's something that it doesn't feel like a job. So I don't know if I can say that it's ever going to be like my full-time job. It's just I love doing it because I'm also a wife and a mom and we live on a farm. Like I have responsibilities here and that's kind of it's so new still. Like I would love it if I could sit back and be like, "Hey honey, if you want to work from home and just do farm stuff, then let me be your sugar mama." But at the moment that's not the case. And so I don't know, it's hard to see past the here and now because there's so much on the front end of having, like I said, marketing and that kind of thing, like selling, and that kind of gets in the way sometimes of writing. And so I haven't figured out the balance
quick bit of a unsolicited advice. The
yet.
best time to sell somebody something is when they already brought something.
Yes, that's true.
Right.
That is
So
very
with
true.
So with that being said, I'm not sure where you at with your how close you are to finishing with your WIPs. Write something accompanying along with it, right? Like a novella, and that novella leads into the book. You
Sure.
automatically increase your income. It's
Mhm.
like the way that we're being marketed to, as far as in the grocery store, online, just in life in general. Authors fail to actually use those same practices with readers,
Yeah.
forgetting that readers are still subjected to those same marketing practices. We as authors, we act, and I'm so guilty. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking when I tell you that I'm guilty, like I am uber guilty of this. Before June, I'm gonna go live on a podcast. Before June 23, I'm actually gonna start selling bundles of books. I'm no longer gonna do one-offs, like bundles, because that
Mhm.
increases my price point first and foremost. And I have
Mhm.
so much like unfinished work on my computer. If I just tidy it up, bring closure to it, read it, make sure that it's sellable, I'm gonna
Mhm.
sell it. And in doing so, like I won't see myself writing as much during the year. I will just do 6 months hard in the paint. Other 6 months, I'm just selling.
Yeah.
6 months on, 6 months off. That's where I'm at with it now. I've yet to test this theory. I will definitely keep you and of course my
Yeah.
podcast listeners abreast of it. But I honestly believe that happens because it's a rarity that we buy one of anything that we like. When I go and get my feet done, believe it or not, yes, men get their feet done. When I get my feet done, they still ask, "Do I want a pedicure? Excuse me, do I want a manicure?" Right? They're still upselling me. Right
Yes.
when you go get your oil change in your car, they always find something else wrong because they're upselling you.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I don't care what you. So I don't understand why us authors haven't figured out we have to upsell as well.
Mhm. That's right. That's right. And
And
I have only ever been my own business owner. Like I've only ever worked for myself. I don't like working. I've tried the working for other people, but in the last 15 years, I guess mostly, I have worked for myself. And there is something about you have to upsell even when you're selling yourself, things that you've produced and that kind of thing. And so
yes,
you have to play on the it's psychology. It is literally psychology.
that's right. And matter of fact, that's right up your alley.
It is, and I think my biggest thing is I know how to do it. It's finding the time to do it and balancing the balancing act. Because my kid, we homeschool, and so I have my kid is home 24/7 with me, just about when we're not out doing art class, when we're not out doing music or whatever we've got going on. And so there's a work life balance that sometimes it's harder when you work from home that you don't have you're not separated from all of the responsibilities. And so finding that balance is massive. And I'm looking forward to it because it's only been like my book's only been on the market since October. So it's not like I'm long well into this process. Do I know enough? Yeah, I've done my research. That's what I do, but it's I'll get there. I'm learning. It's a process.
Well, I promise you, you'll definitely get there. Another takeaway people, readers, excuse me, listeners need to take away from this is because we're self-published authors, our books does not have a bookshelf life. Because think about it, you can have millions and millions of readers in that
Hmm.
genre, and you're only exposing your book to a couple of thousand, maybe.
Mhm.
right? I understand you keep new books in the pipeline because the more books that you have in the pipeline, the more money that you'll make. But don't get discouraged right away. Don't, my book is not selling, but you've only exposed it to 1,000 people. You have millions
Exactly.
that read in your genre. Keep going.
Absolutely, and I think that's one of the it's really easy to get discouraged, and I've had to tell myself, "Stop looking at the numbers," because Amazon gives you the number 987 in whatever category your book is in, and I'm like, "Stop looking, don't, that's not gonna help at all to continue watching
At
and
all.
monitoring." No,
At
because
all.
yeah. Mm-mm.
And once you find your target market and you drive them, like you start to drive traffic to your website and your messaging resonates with them, then they'll start to convert. But it's a process.
It
And
is.
authors hate two things. They hate the editing process and they hate the marketing process. I honestly believe that authors take forever in writing because they're avoiding editing and marketing their books. It's like they romanticize the, pardon my language, the bullshit of writing. Write your story. It's not going to be perfect. Get it
Right.
out there. And then you get to pull from the data of the reviews. A bad review is not going to kill you, right? And matter of fact, authors, my personal message, look for the bad reviews because they're the honest reviews. The first 10,
Mhm.
15, 20 reviews, family, friends, and foes, they are trained to tell you what you want to hear.
That's right.
Go find that 2, 3 star review, or go get the review for a person that does not know nothing about you. And then,
Mhm.
and only then will you know exactly what you're working with.
Yes, I agree. And I think it's also important for authors to connect with other authors and to make a network of support
Yes,
because you can learn so much from each other, like how you do things, how I do things. They may be different, but hey, there may be something that you do that works for me and vice versa. And so to be able to share those ideas and not being afraid of and being possessive. Like I know that there were times in other careers that other worlds that I've worked in, people would get really possessive and they don't want to share. They don't want to share their ideas because you might do better than they did with that idea. Here's the thing. I know how hard I worked and busted my rear end to get this book out there. I'm going to cheer the heck out of you and I want you to do just as well as you possibly can
yes.
as well. So let's make sure that we're cheering each other on and not hoarding all the good stuff for ourselves. That's not
Facts.
me. Mhm.
Right. People need to understand that there's no new idea under the sun. Like
That's
you may
right.
have it, you may execute on it better, but I promise you it's not new. Once you understand that, and the more that you share an idea, think about it. The more that you get to share an idea, the better that you get at executing that idea because you get to talk it through.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, to say the least.
Absolutely.
To say the least. Before we wrap it up and get out of here, I want you to, if you don't mind,
Yeah.
give a word of advice to upcoming authors. What would you tell them, being a fresh new author yourself? What advice would you pass down to somebody that doesn't have a published book and that's struggling right now to get their book out?
My first and foremost would be just put it on paper. Just put it out there, even if it's digital. Just put your words on paper, put the words to the page, and then invest in a really good editor. Like those are the top two things. My editor became one of my friends kind of thing. Like I loved the process, I loved the connection, and they have if it's a good editor, they've been doing this job so long that they will help you even after they've done the editing. They're going to be there to
Yes,
cheer you
ma'am.
on as
Facts.
well as to
Yep.
point you in the right direction. First of all, just write it down and then get an editor who can help you make sense of it all.
Facts, facts, facts. I couldn't say it any better. Miss Jennifer Carr, I appreciate you coming on the podcast. Thank you so much. I consider you a friend. Please do not be a stranger.
Yes,
The door is open. Anytime that you want to come back, just let me know. Just
I'm
find me
here.
on
You know,
TikTok or email me and just let me know.
yeah,
We'll come back and chop it up. I had so much fun talking to you. Thank you
same.
so much.
Thank
Thank you.
you,
Thank
and
you. Thank
honestly, like what you're doing, I appreciate the opportunity, and I think that if authors and writers will just pay attention, the resources are out there.
you.
Mhm.
Wholeheartedly. YouTube University, Google Academy. Just stop being scared of the work. Like that's if
Yeah,
I had to give a
do
message,
the
I like
work. Yes.
stop being like okay. I'm sorry. The easiest thing to do, and some authors gonna be like, he lost his damn mind. Authors listen to me. The easiest thing to do is actually to write. I'm sorry
Yeah.
because they
Mhm.
actually taught you how to write a book. You may agree or disagree, but I'm results driven. So I break things down to the least common. Like I'm not a complicated person, right? When my
Right.
clients, right, I talk to them in ways where they get it like that. And in doing so, they're able to take the information and go execute on it. But we've
Yeah.
all learned how to write a book in elementary, right? And this is how.
Yes.
Like a book is nothing but an elongated paragraph. If you
Mhm.
simplify that, that's it. Beginning, middle,
Exactly.
that's all the book is.
That's
Have a
it.
great opening, have a doggone middle that substantiates that opening, and then by the end of your doggone book, you end the paragraph, you tie up any loose ends that you just go into every book with that mindset, and you'll stop overthinking, you'll stop second guessing, you'll stop having imposter syndrome. Like, and
Absolutely.
it's like I call that my elementary cheat code.
It's
That's what
perfect. No, it's perfect because every kindergarten teacher is, "Okay, tell me about your summer." And every kid has to tell a story using sentences in a paragraph, and even if every word is spelled wrong, they have told a story. So if kindergartners can do it,
uh, I'll say this and I'm gone. It's crazy. I asked you to close the show and I'm still talking. I like to run my mouth. Please forgive
you're
me. Look,
fine. No.
thank you so much. It's the judgment thing. I think what happens is authors take it so personal, and I get it because
Yes.
we earlier you said that there was so much of you in your work, and when a
Yes.
person don't like your work, we think that they don't like us. But it's I don't know that person that's reading my book, and they don't know me. So if they have a way, a way of feeling bad about telling or the way that I tell my story, if they feel a certain way about not liking the way that I tell my story or the way that I present my characters, it's not a personal reflection upon me. And I had to
Yeah.
get over that hump early in my author journey. I had to get, they don't know me. So when I
Yes.
got the bad reviews, when I got this book sucks, and because I got that, I'm not going to stand on my, no, I promise you, I've had, oh my God, what am I doing? I've had those moments. And then what happened was I had to get some thick skin, had to toughen up, had to
Mhm.
tell
Mhm.
myself, pardon my language, this shit's going to get better. And it
Yep.
did. But it's
Yes.
a process. So if I had to leave today's listeners with anything, it's a process. Trust the process. Don't abandon the process. And I promise you, it gets better on the other side. Once again, thank you so
Absolutely.
much for stopping through.
Thank
If
you.
there's anything that I or my company can do for you, do not hesitate in asking. And I got you. Not a problem.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope that all is well and that you enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Like I said, I've been up since 3. So once I get done with you, I'm going to cut this off, cut these lights off, and there's a couch because only
Done.
me and my youngest home, and there's a remote control on the couch that has my name on it. That's yeah. I'm gonna wake up tomorrow morning.
Perfect.
I'm not gonna lie to you, to say the
That's
least.
awesome.
Anyway, Jennifer, before I let you go, tell people where
Yeah.
they can find your book at again, and also tell people your social media handles so they can find you there as well.
Sure. So Amazon, it's all there. No Matter What is the name of the book. My name is Jennifer Carr, and you can also find me. All of my social media handles are JCARR Writes. So jcarwrites.com, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's all the same.
Yeah, and for listeners, all her information will be in my show notes. Like all those links will be in my show notes, so you can find her there as well. So with that being said, you enjoy your weekend. Have a blessed one.
Thanks. We'll talk later.
Bye bye.
Bye.
This episode of Listen Up, I Got a Story to Tell podcast has ended. But please be sure to subscribe for more literary strategies and tactics to help you create the profitable, successful author career you've always wanted. And don't forget to rate and leave a review so we can continue to bring you the best author and book-related content. See you on the next episode.